Applause.
Thank you.
To work us through the remaining steps, 10, 11, and 12. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and good morning, everybody. My name's Mickey. I'm an alcoholic. I wake up alcoholic, I go to sleep alcoholic. It's an all-day sucker, you know what I mean? And I'd like to offer a little prayer, if I may, on our final morning here together. I got this down the road somewhere. Somebody handed me in the rooms this little prayer. Good morning, God. You're ushering in another day, untouched and freshly new. So here we come and ask you, God, if you'll renew us too. Forgive the many errors that we made yesterday and help us once again, dear Lord, to walk closer in your way. But Father, we are well aware we can't make it on our own. So take our hands and hold them tight, for we can't walk alone. Isn't that a great prayer? So, it has been a fantastic weekend. And I have enjoyed being with Peter M. and doing this. This is the second time we've done something in the steps together. And I feel like he's my brother. We both believe this. We're invested in it. We mean it. And so do you. And we're the hale and hearty ones that showed up on Sunday morning, right? That's a good thing. So we're going to go into step 10. Step 10, in many cases, in my experience, and I hate to start off on any less than positive note, if you want to have one of the shortest discussion meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous, have a meeting on step 10. And we'll discuss some of the reasons for that. But the power of it, here's an ironclad guarantee that I will give you. If you begin to practice the 10th step on a daily basis, and you continue to do it, it will revolutionize your life. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Or we'll refund your misery. So, let's see. Okay, where in the world is it here?
You got it, Peter? 84.
80?
84.
84. Thank you. After the 9th step promises, which, just for our encouragement, and if you're listening to these discs, the 9th step promises are, if we are painstaking, at the bottom of 83, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Excuse me. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize, if we work for them. So the water heater busted down in our basement, and I had finished up my 9th step amends, and I'm down there staring at yet another incomprehensible tool in the home. And I reached over and did something. I don't remember. I tightened something or I did something and the water heater worked. And I thought, man, there it is. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. I count on that. Are you kidding me? I'm useless. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. Now, the reason the 10th step meeting gets so strange is because when you say we're going to have a meeting on step 10, people will immediately start talking about the 11th step inventory review at the end of the day. Okay, that's not just FYI what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 10th step, which occurs during the day. All right, here's the Tai Chi of the 10th step. And P.S., it starts with, it should continue for our lifetime. How long are we going to do it? For our lifetime. 1, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Watch for is different than I will respond to it when it hits me between the eyes like a 2x4. Right? We're watching for it. We're being alert. We're looking for the things that are going to take us down if we're not careful. We're watching for these things. 2, when these crop up, not if, it doesn't say that, but I'm saying that. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. And the reason I said when and not if, the book says when, is because we shouldn't get discouraged. If now we're getting resentful, we've worked very hard, or we get fearful, or we tell a lie. You know what I'm saying? Or we find ourselves being selfish. Guess what? It comes with the package. This is a real disease. And it's made up of these 4 things. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. When do we ask? At once. We have got a formula here for keeping us clean. We discuss them with someone immediately. What? That's why the 10th step is not popular. Right? We're ready to pray, we're ready to think, we're ready to do all that stuff, but what are we not ready to do is discuss it with someone else. Now immediately, if you're working a lathe or you're on a production line or whatever, or you're at your job, of course immediately is an elastic term. You're going to do it, we're going to do it as soon as we can. However, we can turn to a coworker and say, you know what, I am so mad at that boss. I resent that guy, and blah, blah, blah. You get it off your chest and you say, but you know what my fault is? I'm not put in charge here. Turns out I'm not the supervisor. Right? Okay. We discuss them with someone immediately. And make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. I'm sorry I did this to you. I'm sorry I made a mistake. Then finally we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. It doesn't say we go help someone. They're telling us to stop thinking about ourselves. We resolutely turn our thoughts, to someone I can help. Think a kindly thought about somebody else. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Hokey smokes, that's it. That's the 10th step, major practice in the 10th step. It means, because we're coming out of 9, we've gone through 9 steps, and we've been very busy, and now we hit this vacuum, and we think, God, what am I going to do? Well, we can take inventory all day long. How about that? Seriously. Okay. Peter, would you like to comment?
Peter, recovered alcoholic.
Peter.
Going through the first 9 proposals, I get to experience. My experience has been a deflation to some degree of the ego, the breaking down of the false self, and my ideas and conceptions and perceptions about what my life's supposed to look like. I've gotten to see how I've been playing God or trying to play God in every area of my life. I looked back at step 4 inventory, and I saw how my first 3 columns were basically a lie, because they're based on my delusion about how I'm supposed to be, how you're supposed to behave. My first truth is really in column 4, and I discuss it with someone in 5, and I'm starting to touch the lies my mind tells me, the thought life, what that looks like. In fact, if my insides match my outsides. Is my thought life manifested out there, and what's that looking like? And I discuss it with someone in 5, and I take a look at defects, ready to, hopefully to surrender them, and I'm going out making amends. And as I'm making amends, I notice the defects of character start to die as well. Am I cured of them? No, because they're all manufactured in the mind. And it says we enter the world of the Spirit in step 10. Well, what do? Enter the world of the Spirit. That doesn't mean I have carte blanche and free room and board now, but it's about growing in understanding and effectiveness, to get the ego further grinded into dust, to kill more self. And there's great words. And step 10 isn't about hanging around. This word maintenance has gotten just destroyed as if I just stay in one place. It's about caring for the soul, getting soul food, and writing inventory. I do a lot of inventory. If I'm walking around, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I have something that's really bothering me. After prayer, my book says we go to God and discuss it with someone immediately. I have some immediately, folks. In fact, Mick was telling me a couple of weeks ago, call me. You don't have to call me just on the days that we're scheduled to call. Call me, I'm your sponsor. And I have a couple of folks at work that I have immediately with. So if something at 9 o'clock in the morning is irritating me, and I'm in the treatment center business, and things are irritating me all the time, right? What do? I turn after prayer, and I'll speak to one of the elders in AA down there. There's a gentleman down I speak to regularly. And he has more experience in that business. He's sober as long as Mickey is. He's in the book, so I can discuss it, and we're at least on the same page. And if something's still with me, I'll put pen to paper and write inventory. There's great words in step 10. Commence at once. Our book, I should say. Commence at once, vigorously. Book uses words like next, now, constantly telling me to move. So the words I've been working with forever in step 10 are 4 words. Turn, watch, aware, and observe. Turn, watch, aware, and observe. Turn in order to go out. If I don't turn in, I'll go without. Watch, aware, and observe. Am I mindful of my speech? Am I mindful of my action? Am I mindful? Am I present? Am I awake? Am I getting wrapped up in other things and other people's drama? Am I stepping into people's tornadoes? I can't be of service to you once I step into your drama. Now I'm part of your drama. Can I meet resistance with no resistance? Am I taking your inventory during the day? Trying to take the speck out of your eye while I got a beam in mine. That makes no sense. Meet resistance with no resistance. One of the, and I'm not always good at this, but one of the phrases that have resonated, the lines that have resonated with me, it's not from this book, and it goes like this: forgive them for they know not what they do. There are going to be people who are going to take shots at you, take shots at me, just because of where they are. It's not even personal. It's just how they operate. And what I will do is get bent out of shape, and then that person owns me for the rest of the day. The external world owns me because I'm playing God, and you ought to behave this way. I've sat on that side of the room while people were discussing the big book and gotten resentful and fearful and angry and wanted to get up and walk out because they would beat me up with a big book. Well, what do I do with that? That's their own drama. I don't need to take any of that stuff personally. It's a great book I work with called The 4 Agreements. One of the things they talk about is not to take anything personally. How can I take something personally? First of all, I'm not even that important. I'm a spoke in a very big wheel. The world doesn't revolve around Peter Marinelli. I so agree with Mickey. If you don't want to get called on, or you don't want to be invited back to a meeting, or you want to see the meeting clear out, say tonight's topic is step 10, what it's like experientially entering the world of the Spirit. What it's like being recovered or placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. It says we cease fighting anything or anyone. Then there's a dash. And almost an afterthought, oh, by the way, even alcohol. Now, when I first came in here, it was get the booze off my back. Well, the booze has been removed, so it's almost an afterthought. And the big thing is my walking around problem, my interaction with people. I mean, you could walk into a room like this, scan the room, and not like 40 people. You didn't even have coffee yet. Right? Because I know what you guys are thinking. So who's judgmental? So if I start to retaliate, now I'm guilty of what I just accused you of in my own head. But when I see you, I'm a fraud because good morning, how are you? And I really don't like you. And this is how we tend to operate, how we walk around on earth until we walk into an AA meeting and we pretend to be Moses. On the way in here, I cut people off, I curse people, I flip them the bird, I'm arguing with my wife, I hate my boss, I hate my life, and I walk in and tell you, how you doing? I'm wonderful this morning, how are you? You have that low, serene voice, I'm wonderful, how are you? And I'm quick to give advice to people because I'm not using, so take mine. I mean, that's Do I walk with the spirit of love and tolerance? Or is those just words because they sound good from a podium? What's my beingness like? Have I been transformed? Have I experienced the spiritual revolution? Because this is it. We've entered the world as a spirit. We don't wait to step 12 to have a spiritual awakening. I mean, if you do, great. But our book tells us we've entered the world of the spirit in 10 as I clean up the wreckage of my past. I'm in. What am I doing to feed the soul, to get my soul food? There's some 10-step promises. It says we cease fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. First thing I need to take a look at. When I'm alone, who am I wrestling with? How much fear is on me? Am I still on page 52? If I've been thorough in the work, I shouldn't have any of that stuff. I mean, fear is going to show up once in a while. I'm going to get angry once in a while. I'm going to get sad. I'm going to feel threatened. But can I meet that with God? Am I clear on who my Creator is and who I walk with? And am I clear, as sick as you are, you have God too? Can I cut through? Can I transcend all of that, which is when we're wearing the world like a loose garment? Because if I can't do that, then I'm shooting the wounded in AA and out there, and now I'm a hypocrite. I'm not carrying this message. It's easy to carry, quite frankly, it's easy to do this. We have people showing up who want to hear about the book. Whether there's 5 or 500, people are curious, they want to hear about the book. Can I do this to a Don't Drink and Go to Meetings group? Can I do this to the sick and suffering drunk who's just pissed off at everything and trying to share this message? Welcome to the NFL. It says, for by this time sanity will have returned. Back in step 2, we were looking to be restored to sanity, wholeness of mind, truth, God. Step 10, they deliver the goods. They deliver the contract. If I've been thorough, sanity is returned, which means A, I'm not in a state of obsession. In fact, I'm not even thinking about a drink unless when it's useful to tell someone my story, or 12-step 1. I don't walk around with triggers and issues and all this kind of drama. We've been set free. We've gotten our spiritual wings go fly, go bring us into our homes, occupations, and affairs, huh? AA, this is the training ground. We can screw up in here. We got people to rally around us and pick us up. It's when we're out there, do I take my spiritual wings and take them into the home, the alcoholic home, the 12-step call, to work, in all my affairs. It says, I'll be seldom interested in liquor. Well, I've heard so many times in some of our meetings, it's normal to think about a drink because you're an alcoholic. My book says in step 5, we feel like the drink problem's disappeared, and tells me I'll seldom be interested in liquor. This tremendous amount of growth. So why are we told at so many meetings, it's normal to think about a drink if you're an alcoholic? You better believe it if I'm untreated. That's all I'm thinking about. Why would this loving God give me a loaded gun, blindfold me, and say, go play? It says, if tempted, I recoil from it as from a hot flame. I react sanely and normally, which is really important because I'm going to be doing 12-step calls. And I'm going to be throwing the stuff down the pipe, the drain pipe. I'm going to be cleaning up the powder, throwing the syringes away, and not for a moment do I sit there and go, oh man, I remember that stuff, and diving in head first. Then you got 2 12-step calls to make. The liquor is here, I'm here, let's get on with the day. And because of that, we can go to social events where liquor is served. If I want to. If I don't want to, I don't go. But you're drinking, I'm not, so be it. more 10-step promises. It says, we find that this has happened automatically. Watch this. We will see how our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. Which means I don't have to think the drink through, play the tape to the end, remember where I come from, keep it green, any of that stuff, which is really, really dangerous because I have a sick mind trying to overcome a sick mind. Who's remembering the pain of yesterday? My mind. What does my mind want to do? Want to drink? Who's going to keep it green? My mind. Who's going to play the tape through? My mind. My tape gets to, you know what? Jack Daniels really wasn't that bad. I drank in the wrong bars. And then I'm drinking. It'll co-sign my nonsense. It says, without any thought or effort on our part, it just comes. This is the miracle of it. I'm not fighting it. Neither am I avoiding temptation. I feel as though I've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. I haven't even sworn the stuff off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for me. This is the place of getting recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, which we talked about way back in the first step, in the beginning of the book, first promise of the book. Recovered. That'll ruffle feathers at some contemporary AA meetings. I shared one time that I said innocently, I said, Peter, I'm a recovered alcoholic, and it went around the room, and it got to this woman, and she just went up one side, down the other on me. I never want to get recovered. That means I can't come back to AA. I swear, I didn't say that. Then I had to go and write inventory on it, but that's a whole other thing. It says, I'm not cocky or afraid. This is my experience. This is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. What am I doing to keep fit? I see a lot of newbies down in South Florida. They get 20 minutes sober, they run to the gym. And then the gym's not enough, they got to get on steroids. And then they have to go to the beach. And then they got to get these weird hairdos, and then they got to get tattoos and hoops in their ears and their nose and their lips and all. And they're trying to look a certain way. They're taking care of all the exterior, and then they pick up again because they keep fit in the gym and they look good, but they're not keeping spiritually fit. What am I doing to get my soul food? My old sponsor, Ed, called me up. He would call me up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and he was all revved up. And he used to call me Money. He'd say, Money, what's shaking? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know yet. But I realized he would get up at 4. And I put the piece of the puzzle together. He probably finished meditation, was ready to rock and roll. So I got used to it. Like when I speak to Mick, you have a notepad and pen because I want to learn from my teacher. So I start taking notes. And I learned that to do that with Mark. And he asked me a question. It's early in the morning. He says, what are you doing about the dash? I don't know what that means. So I said, I don't know what that means. He says, what are you doing about the dash? And he would push it like this. He'd push and push and push. And I said, I don't know what the dash means. He says, you go to a cemetery. There's a headstone. And on the headstone's a date that God brought you here, and there's a date that God takes you home. In the middle is a 2-inch dash. That's your life. What are you doing about the dash? We talked about how many hours we spend in resentments and fears and playing old things back and fear of the future and a lot of oh my gods throughout the day. And never ever present, and then we're out like a vapor. Boom, in and out. And we're going to big book meetings, and we're going to meetings, and we have sponsors, and we're just caught up in all the drama, and we never sit still and just watch the ocean, God showing off, watch the ocean come in and out and be present. How's my beingness? How mindful am I? If I'm not working with the strict spiritual disciplines of 10 and 11, they are a set of spiritual laws in 10 and 11. I can't be present because I'm still being pushed by the past. I don't care how many inventories I've written. What am I doing to know my Creator? And what has evolved for me, it's about a year now, is returning home to my religion, which has blown open a few doors for me. And I sit there and I say, why did I wait so long for? I was so in the dark. Come out into the light. Come into the light. Come out. I needed pushed. I needed to be grabbed by the neck and pulled out. And once I stepped into this, I shared the other day, I began weeping week after week after week. And part of me is saying, why did you wait so long for? I guess maybe the ground wasn't fertile. I don't know, but I am there now. Now, I don't know where God's going to take me next, but I have a hunger for this. I've always had a hunger for this and my recovery, and I've just been given that through desperation. But to open up a new door, I want to walk that walk. And so I work with Step 10, and people say I'm fanatical about this, and I get a lot of ugly names thrown out, people with the books. I really don't care. Most nights I sleep at night. I don't hurt anyone during the day. My amends list is really not much to talk about compared to when I first came in. It says it's easy to let up on my spiritual program of action and rest on my laurels, my accomplishments of yesterday. Well, I went through the steps so I can coast. I have a sponsor who's popular, so I don't have to do anything. I get affirmation from others because my sponsor's Joe Blow, the big speaker, and nonsense. And I think I shared Friday about going backwards through the steps. This is one of the steps that go by the board. I'm in collision with people all day long. I'm in collision with me. I'm driving in my car. I'm listening to the voices of 1,000 people. How many people drove here this morning alone in their car? How many people were alone in their car this morning? Okay, you're all lying to me. All right. Because I want you to just for a moment think about the ride from your house, even if it was around the block, to this place while you're in a car alone. How many people were you talking to? 45. Right? Arguing. We argue with people. Then you get the blast from the past, the kid from the 3rd grade. You go into a spiritual workshop and you're arguing with somebody and you get all this stuff and you get out of the car. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Well, I'm tired. You ever see people, I guess you could say less fortunate, sick and suffering, who may be walking the streets and talking out loud, they're talking to themselves. I got off at the airport and there was this poor woman. I thought she was she was arguing with someone on the phone. She had no phone, she was just arguing. They're talking to voices, they're talking to people, and we go, oh my God, stay away from these sick and suffering. We do the same thing all day long, and we go to AA. In your car on your way over here, you were arguing, talking. You had a romance going on in here at some point during the weekend. We know that, right?
Nice touch.
Well, a couple. So this is what we do. How long am I going to feed those voices? And through that, when do I listen to God? I don't have time for God. When I'm getting up in the morning, even if I'm late for work, do I spend time with my Creator for giving me another breath? In fact, the breath you're taking right now, I'm convinced it's my God breathing through me. Maybe even closer than that breath. But we get caught up in all the other stuff because I got to look good for the world out there, and here I come. Look out. Wow. It's easy to let up on a spiritual program of action and rest on my accomplishments of yesterday. It warns him, I'm headed for trouble if I do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. I didn't go to college. I didn't know what subtle and foe meant. I had to look it up. Subtle is sly, clever, devious, and difficult to detect. And a foe is a personal enemy. My illness will come in the form of someone who I think is my friend who's not healthy for me. My illness will lay in the bushes like a sniper and just wait and wait and wait. Pete, don't write inventory. You don't have to call your sponsor. You don't need to pray today. You're busy. Don't worry. Home group, forget that. You're good. You're gold. Look at you. And then bang. And I didn't see it coming. This is an illness that doesn't say, hey, tomorrow morning come into your house, going to wreck your life, so call your sponsor. It just doesn't do that. It just shows up. Suddenly shows up, we're in trouble. And then what the mind wants to do, and you can really detect the illness easy, what do my actions say? Forget what I feel inside. Forget what my intentions are. What do my actions say? I claim to be spiritual, but I have no fidelity in my relationship. I'm a womanizer. I claim to be spiritual, but I'm cheating on my taxes. I claim to be spiritual. I haven't put a good day's work in since I began. I claim to be spiritual, and I don't help anyone. I claim to be spiritual. I am in the AA meeting. I go home, and I'm a train wreck around my wife and kids. How's that looking? What do my actions say? Do I have sympathy and empathy for the sick and suffering? Do I judge them and critique them? Do I shoot the wounded? Something I read is about being slow to speak and quick to hear. Usually we're speaking, right? We got a judgment. Bang, I'm talking. How about listening? Listen to someone's heart when it's hurting and the soul when it's broken and they're twisted up. Mary and I were talking about someone we've been trying to help for the longest time, this woman. She's twisted up. She's upside down with some psych problems. It is easy to say, the hell with her. Get her out of here. Don't even talk to her. Now, we have to kind of like draw a line. We have to kind of raise the bottom, if you will. And we both came clear on how sick and how wounded is this woman. Who are we to judge? Because when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, the elders were there for me. I didn't smell so good. I didn't look so good. And my thinking was upside down. And you know what they said? Keep coming back. Most people say, don't come back here anymore. My dad told me, don't come back here anymore. People in AA said, keep coming back. Do you have food money? And in the condition I was when I was living in Minnesota, they took me to a diner. I must have been an embarrassment. They didn't care. That's walking the walk. I got to be clear so I can hear him. And so experience so much oneness with this God. In a place of humility, I'm okay with shouting his name from the rooftops at any AA meeting and not apologizing for my big book, nor apologizing for that power which gave me the book and gave me a breath and gives me sobriety. Brings us together this morning. Do we lose sight of that? Because on a Sunday morning, can we take a little bet on where most of us are on a Sunday morning? Waking up in places and next to people that we don't know how we got there. Or in jail still on a drunk. Coming out of an after hours, I did it again. Throwing a bottle against a brick wall, I did it all the time. I'm done. Why'd I do that for? Hustle up money, keep drinking. In the same clothes for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and hadn't eaten in I don't know how long. And Sunday morning, I'm talking about God and his book with my sponsor and a bunch of friends. That's a pretty neat deal. So what am I doing to grow in understanding and effectiveness? It says, have a daily reprieve based on my, I read this as, I have a daily reprieve based on my care of the soul. I read a book a long time ago titled Care of the Soul. It is the most important organ in my life. It's not really an organ, it's a spirit, this place in here. Because God's going to determine how long I'm going to be on this earth. All I do is take care of myself. He's going to call me home. What am I doing about the soul? It's my responsibility. Every day is a day must carry the vision of God's will into all my activities. How can I best serve him? His will, not mine, be done. Then it tells me, these are thoughts that must go with me constantly throughout my day as I'm navigating through the day. My GPS. God gives me power, gives me sobriety. That's my GPS for the day. So I write inventory, I share it, I discuss it with someone, and I turn. Am I flawless? Absolutely not. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. So I put erasers on pencils. I make mistakes. I clean it up. There's a difference how I'm approaching life the past couple of years. I know I'll probably make mistakes. And I don't feel like it's the end of the world either. When the ego's in the way, it's like, oh my God, I made a mistake. I'm Joe Spiritual. How could I clean this up? Because in the step 11, it says, don't drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection because it's going to diminish my usefulness to others. I need to get back on the horse and keep riding. That's why we have sponsors and support groups and meetings. Hey, I made a mistake. I need to clean this up. I need your direction here. Because God's already forgiven me. There's something to sit with. Am I clear that God has forgiven me? And one of the best gifts I can give to him is my faults and my sins and my sidewayness and my brokenness. So he can fix me. I was sitting with Mickey discussing inventory, and you hear things like 100 times, and then one day you hear it. And it was this, that God is pursuing you, he said to me. God is pursuing you, begging to have a relationship with you. Don't only pray to God, but pray with him. And those simple words blew open another door. My prayer life changed that night, because it was Wednesday when I went to pray at night. I looked at it completely different. I'm not alone praying. I'm praying to my Creator who's waiting for me, been pursuing me. So a few times my back has got against the wall. When I was going to Switzerland, my back, I felt it against the wall. I had some skepticism and doubt. And then God sent an angel at the airport. There's always a way out with God. And some of those things that I go through that I'm uncomfortable, I've come to a place now, and my intent is pure. I'm trying to be of service to others. There's no ulterior motives, because an alcoholic with a motive should be considered armed and dangerous, so there's no motives, right? And it's a little uncomfortable right now. Who's sending me in? Who's pulling me out? Maybe more pruning going on. And that's how I just look at it.
Thanks, Peter. So I guess I'm a practical person, or I try to be, or that's the way I respond to things. It's like, what can I do about this? What can I do with this? Peter read, every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? This is in quotes. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. End quote. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. So, if we look in Scripture, there is an admonition, pray without ceasing. So in the Jewish faith, you'll see phylacteries. If you've ever seen, like, it's a leather box on the forehead, and there are straps that tie the leather box. That leather box has little pieces of paper with part of the Psalms on them, or whatever. They can tie them on their wrist. The Catholic Church has the Liturgy of the Hours. There's morning prayer, mid-morning prayer, daytime prayer, evening prayer, and night prayer. It's pray without ceasing, pray without ceasing. The way I picture it is the globe, Earth, and we're sending up a song to God. How global is that song? Or we're lighting a light for God. Are we going to light it together? Okay. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. Here's a practical suggestion. If you wear a watch, consider wearing a digital watch. It may not be the most high-fashion watch, but if it'll ring the half hour or the hour, set it to do that. And every time that bell rings, you say, God, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. I sponsored a man in AA for 22 years. And right in the middle of the meeting, that watch will go off. He could not care less. He turns it off. But he's trying to observe what he's been given as an instruction. So I offer that to you as a thought. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. We are God's children. My higher power says, unless you become like a little child, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Oh, little child, wait a minute, man. I've been spending my whole life trying to be muy macho. I was really a miserable failure at that. But anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Because when I am muy macho, I'm in muy trouble. Mucho trouble. Thank you. Let's get our Spanish right around here. Come on. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cooperate with the fact that humility is the antidote for alcoholism. There's a T-shirt. Humility is the antidote for alcoholism. So if I can become like a little child, when I get in trouble, I run to God like he's wearing robes, and I grab him around the knees, or I go and hide behind him. I am not kidding. Because I've found out what happens when I don't run. And I can't take the heat. I cannot carry the load. And then here's another T-shirt. And P.S., I do think in T-shirts. And I also think in T-shirts in the middle of your fifth step. All men must. All women are. And I'm seeing T-shirt after T-shirt. And pretty soon I'll start to laugh, which is a weird moment in your fifth step. Then I'm working with this guy in LA, and he's trying to read his inventory, and he can't get past the T-shirts. So now we're writing them down. We're saying we're going to start a company. If you could wear any of these T-shirts, you would raise eyebrows. It would be great. But anyway, so I'm trying to be that little child, and I'm trying to run to him, which is P.S. what the 10th step is about. This stuff's now happening in my head. Have you noticed how productive our heads are? It's always coming up with this stuff. All right. So they give us something to do all day long. So, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. End quote. Then it says, these are thoughts which must go with us constantly. Check this out. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. What does that mean? Well, I can tell you what I've done with it. I made a prayer out of it. I will your will. I will your will. I will your will. So, the difficulty with all spirituality, I think, at least in this carbon unit, is that to my alcoholic ego, God is the enemy. Right? Why? Because he's going to screw this thing up. Right? I can't turn my will and my life over to him. He's going to screw it up. We don't say that out loud, but why would we resist him? Because inside me is a false self that is fighting for survival. It wants to dominate me. It wants to run Mickey Mussett. So, Dostoevsky said there's a war between good and evil, and the battleground is the human heart. So it's not like, oh, I'm stupid. Some will say, I'm stupid. I didn't do that right. Whatever. We're not stupid. We're alcoholic. And we are in the middle of a war zone. We are in the middle of a war zone. And if you doubt it, check out the transitional nature of the population of your home group. In and out, baby. In and out. In and out. What's happening? We're giving in. We're giving in. We're not invoking the power. Power. So, as you know, I'm a bootmaker. I have machines. I have 2 sewing machines that are probably about 5.5 feet tall. And those machines sew the soles onto the boots. Those machines are old. I have one machine that's probably from 1920, and I have another machine that's probably from the 1950s. And I think about all the people who have stood at those machines making beautiful things, and it just makes me feel wonderful. But in any event, there are no technicians for these machines because the boot and shoe repair business is over. How many people have visited a shoe repair cobbler this year? God bless you. Please keep doing so. But you understand what I'm saying out of this whole room. We don't do it. We take our shoes to the thrift store. We don't fix them. Not anymore. So there's no technicians. So it's 11:30 at night. And I got a pair of boots due the next day. And I'm trying to learn this trade, and it's very difficult. It is a very difficult profession. And so I go to sew the sole on the boot, and it makes this terrible noise, and it kicks a bolt, spits it up like a cat coughing up a fur ball into my hand, and stops. It's 11:30 at night. I'm exhausted. I'm the only one in the shop. I am the bootmaker, and I don't know how to fix it. And I stood in the middle of my shop, and I screamed to God, I am not going to leave you. Because my reaction to stuff like that is the hammer goes through the front window. To hell with it. Let's put a utility knife through the boots. I'm serious. I am not going to leave you. And I just screamed it in the middle of my shop in the middle of the night. This is power. I only have one power source. And I have the illusion of another one. So, the 10th step is to keep us squared away in our day. And if you haven't been doing it, I really would encourage you to begin to do this daily, okay? Try to take that away as a challenge from this weekend. What do you say for the next 6 months? You do a 10-step every day. Why not? If you haven't been doing it, find out if one of these guys who facilitated the weekend is a liar. He says it's going to change my life. Find out if it's true. Why not? What have you got to lose? Okay. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. I'd like to talk about God conscious for 1 second. You ever notice if you want a particular brand of car, let's say you want a Ford Fusion. All of a sudden, when you're driving around the road, you see Ford Fusions everywhere, right? We'll call that Ford Fusion consciousness. Right? Now all of a sudden you see Ford Fusions everywhere. What if we were just to start thinking about God that way? What if we wanted God? Maybe we would become God conscious. We would see God everywhere. It's just a thought. I'm trying to work a t-shirt out of that, but it's not there. Okay. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. So there's all kinds of forms of inventory in our program. We have the 4th step, we have the 10th step, and we have the 11th step nightly review. So we have inventory all the time. I don't know if it was Plato or Aristotle said the unexamined life is not worth living. What we want to do as alcoholics is go through life unconscious. Drunk. Gone. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to know it. Let's just move through like that. And I find it interesting that people don't want to cry in here. I find that interesting because I earn my tears. I come from an all-warrior family, and I could literally care less if anybody sees me cry. When I got sober, this man looked at me and he said, Mickey, if the 88 keys of the piano represent the full range of human emotion, you have 2. Rage and excitement. I didn't want to be that guy. So I'm always looking to pick up a few more keys in the piano, you know. And one of them is my tears. I can cry when you cry. And I sponsor a guy, an unlikely guy. If you saw him, you would not believe what I'm about to tell you about him, but he is ex-82nd Airborne Special Forces and Ranger. And because of his particular makeup, crying is like anathema. This is the biggest mistake ever. And so his sponsor is Willie the Weeper. Isn't that nice that God put us together? And like I'm going to lose something if I cry. I'm going to lose something if I feel. Okay, so now I'm going to give you this and then I'm going to shut the front door and we're going to have a break. Just consider this. Our feelings are the voices of our souls. When I got sober, I know this is a deviation here, but please just, if you can tolerate me for a moment. When I got sober, the motto was F your feelings. They're like errant children. They're nonsense. They show up erratic. Who cares? We're just going to dismiss them. And what they are is they are our souls crying out, saying, I'm here. I need to be fed. I'm trying to talk to you. Listen to me. So our feelings are yet another gift of perception that God's given us in our body. We think all the perception goes on in our heads. And I'm telling you, our souls feel Our souls reflect and our souls talk. What a thought. What a being we are. Right? This is our person. And we are wired for God all day long. Can we take a break?
Sure.
Let's take a break. We'll get back together at a little after 10. You did great, man. When I grow up, I want to wake up, just like you.
Sorry.
That's what I'm saying, man.
If anybody wants anything more from the CD table, it's going to be closing during the next session, so this is your last chance to get any books or CDs or DVDs if you want them. Thank you.
Until we started working.
And isn't it a gift?
20-some years.
Isn't it a gift, Scott?
I had plenty to cry about, but I didn't. I wouldn't. I couldn't. That's why I was laughing my ass.
I just love you.